How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Today we have another movie review for you all. Today we are going to be talking about The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. I have been waiting for this film for a long time now, as far as horror films go. I think this might have been my most anticipated horror film going into this year so far. If I'm missing one that's out of my head right now, I'll have to look later, but The Conjuring 3 is a film that I've been waiting for a long time. I have really liked the first two films. Obviously, the Conjuring films are a part of a big universe of what is called the Conjuring universe, where you have the Conjuring films, you had a film like The Nun, La Llorona, and the Annabelle movies, which are also, a part of a big expansion of what is centered around not the fact that it's all centered around the Warrens and their story, but everything in a way kind of connects from all these films. And The Conjuring 3 is yet another film in the Conjuring universe that has, again, its own story. Every film in this universe is different. They don't all connect in every way based on the stories of each film. Obviously, there are things in each film that connect to one another. Obviously, if you know, the Annabelle doll is pretty much in every single one of the Conjuring universe films. You see that doll in every film. Aside from the exception of La Llorona, if I recall, that doll is not in that film, but it is in every other film, including the Nun, I believe. And this film is definitely a different one, and I think it's going to divide a lot of people. I certainly think the critic scores, as well as the audience scores, definitely differ. I think the critics and the audiences definitely differ. The audiences like this movie way more than the critics do. The critics are kind of split down the line, half like it, half don't. And I kind of expected that, to be honest, after watching the film. It's definitely, I would say, the lesser of the three Conjuring films, between Conjuring 1, 2, and 3. I think the first one is definitely by far the best. I think anybody would agree with that. At least the majority do anyway. Then I would rank it that way. Conjuring 1, and then 2, and then 3, all in that order. That's how I would rank it. And that's not to say that The Conjuring 3 is a bad film by any means. I do think The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, is a good film. And thankfully, it is still in the presence of what made the first two films good. Now, this film does have a different director. James Wan's not doing this film like he did the last two this time around. This one is directed by the guy who did La Llorona, which is another one of the films in the Conjuring universe. And that film I didn't really like all that much, if I'm being quite honest. I feel it was more of the same shtick that we've seen in many horror films before. It didn't really do anything new. Obviously, it has a different story, but as far as like your normal horror film tropes, it wasn't the greatest thing. And so I was really looking forward to see what he would do with a Conjuring film. And to be honest, I think he did a good job. I mean, this film is definitely better than La Llorona in every way, in my opinion. I think this film definitely excels in, and I think a lot of people will probably really like what I'm about to say, but I do think this film excels in the jump scare area of horror. Not many people normally say that anymore nowadays in the terms of the horror genre. You will see people nowadays just say that every horror film that comes out just has the same old kind of jump scare. You know it's coming, you're going to prepare for it, and when it happens, you're either going to jolt or you're not. And this film did make me jump. I'm not gonna stand by and not say that I didn't. I did jump in, I would say, about 90% of the jump scares that this film has. However, that doesn't mean that they were scary. And you're probably wondering, well, wait, how does that really make any sense? Well, typically, the way a jump scare works is that it's not always supposed to give you the feeling of being scared. Usually, when I'm scared, you can tell when you're scared into a jump scare. And a jump scare is going to make you either jump or not. But as far as it making you scared, it's on the lesser for me, I would say personally. I found this film to be the least scary out of all three Conjuring films by far. That first Conjuring film is still the most one of those scariest films ever made. I think, and creepy too. Because that film, it just does it so well. And obviously it was in a different time. I was a much younger person when I first saw that film, so obviously I've grown and I've matured and I've come to see things a lot more and kind of like see into the future, really, when it comes to jump scares. Like, I can tell when one's coming and I'm always ready for it, and it usually doesn't scare me. I think if you are in the right setting at the right time when watching this film, so whether you're in the dark or if you're watching this in a theater, it's the best way, and in the loudest setting as well, because if you're in a place with loud sound, it's gonna get you. Trust me, I guarantee you it will. As far as the story goes, it's a simple story. Kid gets possessed by a devil, or a demon in this case, like a demonic entity. And Ed and Lorraine Warren, played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, they have to go and help out and rid the person of this entity. And the reason I say that this film does different things, other than the other films, is that there's also a how do I say this? More of like a crime. There's like a crime aspect to it where people are going out and trying to solve all these cases that connect and intertwine with the main story. And I thought that was a good touch to it. I'm not going to lie. I do think that this film is entertaining. I think my eyes were on screen at all times. I wasn't looking at my phone at all during this film. I was vastly entertained. The acting is spectacular in this film. Really, really good acting from everybody all around. The actors did a really good job, especially our two main ones, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. They did a splendid job. And, I think we fully expected that, because these guys, these actors have been playing those two characters for 8 years now. And not many people, think about that when it comes to these films. They have been playing Ed and Lorraine Warren since 2013. 8 years. And not just in the Conjuring films, but they also have made appearances in other Conjuring universe films, like Annabelle Comes Home, which was the most recent one that came out 2 years ago, if I'm correct. They know how to play these characters. And obviously, as I said earlier, this film is the sum of a trilogy. That didn't really make sense, the sum of a trilogy. It basically is the third film in a trilogy of movies, Conjuring 1, 2, and 3. And I don't know if we're going to see them again. I think that's all up to whether Warner Bros. And the actors, if they want to keep going. Because at the end of the day, I haven't done much research into the real people of Ed and Lorraine Warren, but from what I hear, they've done a lot of cases, and I don't know if I want to see every single case. I think the 3 cases that they dealt with in the 3 Conjuring films, I think that was probably enough. At some point, obviously they're going to continue making these films. That's just a no-brainer. I mean, they do make money. And they're all good films. I mean, not all of them. I think a few of them have been on the lower tier, but the Conjuring films specifically have been good. So, as far as the cons, again, I said it's not the scariest of the films. I can't really say that there's too many flaws with this film, other than, yeah, I mean, again, as far as flaws goes, there were many predictable things. I thought it was, your typical story. Nothing really different happened with this film. It was the least scary out of all 3 films. So again, I can't really say much about flaws per se. But with that being said, if I had to give this movie a grade, I'd probably go a 7 out of 10. Yeah, I think this is definitely the least of the 3. I would have given the second Conjuring film an 8, and then the first Conjuring film, Conjuring 1, I would give that movie a 9 out of 10. That movie is just amazing. It's such a great all-time classic horror film. So guys, that's going to do it for me. I really thank you guys all for tuning into this review. If you are new, please hit that like and subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And I will see you guys all in the next movie review. Peace out, everybody.